Hi guys, thanks for stopping by my channel today. Now on today's video, we're not going to make anything. We're going to talk a little bit about rhinestone templates, especially if you're cutting your rhinestone templates with Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the computer and let's get started. Okay, if you are new to rhinestone templates, this information may seem a little overwhelming at first. You really just have to dive in, start playing, and it'll make more sense. But there's a few things that I thought was important that you know before you get started. First thing, and most important thing, is that the holes that are cut are the right size for your stones. So what I want to show you is, this is a site. I have no affiliation with this site, but here's what I love about it. Let's just look at this 50 in favored. Notice she gives you the file size, and so once you download this, the 50 in favored, if you select the whole thing, it should be 10.26 inches wide and 7.86 inches tall. Now the reason that's important is because each of these little holes is sized for your rhinestones. If it's not that size, if it's not the 10.26 by 7.86, the size of your holes won't be right, and your stones aren't going to fit correctly. What I'm going to show you today is something that I made out of this font, and it's a font that I bought off of My File Addiction, so the site I just showed you. And notice that she even gives you the measurements for this. So if you select everything in this file, this should be 14.443 wide by 8.140 tall, and that's what it is. Okay, now I want to show you something in this file. With SS10 rhinestones, traditionally people are going to cut their holes anywhere from 0.130 inches to 0.135 inches. And when I was playing around with this file, I selected a letter. In Inkscape, you go to break apart, and that takes all those apart so you can see what size each hole is. So I'm going to click on one hole, and notice it's 0.13. I've already taken apart the O, it's 0.13. I took apart the Z, and it's 0.135. It's not exactly round, 0.133 by 0.135, and that's okay. This third digit past the 0.13, it's not as big of a deal as what I thought it was at first. So as long as they're between 0.130 and 0.135, for me, I'm happy. Okay, so let me show you the design that I made. This is a design that I made out of the font that I showed you. So let me open this in Cricut Design Space. Okay, from that set of fonts, the design I made was right here, straight out of Ipsy. Now let me show you what I noticed. Let me blow this up. Notice how close together some of these are. There was one letter I noticed they were actually touching. Okay, here it is, in this A. And mine is really blown up large. It's larger than the actual design would be. Those holes are touching, and I didn't think that'd cut very well. So I worked with this file in a manner that I'm going to show you just a minute with a smaller file. And this is what I came out with. Now remember, you have to make sure your holes stay between 0.130 and 0.135, or at least that's the target I want. And so there is a little trick to this. Let me go ahead and close this out, and I'll start a new one. Now here's a design that I've been playing with in Inkscape, and I made the word Kansas from that same rhinestone font that I showed you earlier. I've selected just my rhinestones, and that part of the design is 8.578 wide and 2.376 tall. So when I named my file, notice I named it Rhinestone Kansas 8.578 by 2.376. And I named it that because, well, first of all, because the baby's Booty, she is very big into rhinestones. I'll put a link to her channel in the video description. She told us to do it that way, but the reason she wanted us to do it that way is so that when we open this file or when we see it on our desktop, we know the size of it. And that's because rhinestone templates often import into Cricut in the wrong size. Okay, so let's go into Cricut and pull this in. I'll go to My Projects. Then I want to start a new project, so I'll click on New, Upload. Then I need to go to my projects file and find what I just showed you. So I'm going to click on Browse. And here it is right here. So I'm going to say open, then upload. Now I can tell it's going to upload weird because I can see right back here the shape of the state and the black rectangle I had. Let's go ahead and click on that and then add it to my canvas. Okay, so yes, this came in at almost 48 inches wide. Now first I want to get rid of these two shapes. So first I'm going to ungroup, and then I'm going to go down and find those. Now in mine they showed up at the bottom, so I'm going to hide both of those. Then so that I resize everything at one time, I'm going to go back to what says group. I've grouped them together. And then right here, where it currently says 47.956, I need to put in the size I really want it to be. So in the width, I'm going to put the size of 8.578 wide. And then if this works correctly, the height should be 2.376, and it is. Okay, let's move that down. Now I want to see how large my holes are, because remember I want them to be between 0.130 and 0.135. So I'll ungroup this. Now let's see if I can click one yet. No, I'll have to ungroup the S. Now I should be able to click on one and see. Okay, so they are 0.130. And that's wonderful, except that this font has a problem. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change those a nice light color so it's a little bit easier to tell what's going on. Let's just do a light purple. Okay, so I've blown this up, and notice even at 200%, look at these dots right here. Those little holes are just almost touching, and I think that the Cricut would have a hard time cutting that. I think maybe that could cause a problem. So here's what I discovered to fix that. I'm going to use this offset feature to fix this issue. So everything is still selected. I'll click on offset. Now right now it's defaulted to a positive 0.25 inch offset. And as my computer processes this, you're going to see a big offset, but then we're going to change that. Okay, so I'm going to undo weld offsets. I'm going to move this to a negative offset. I might call that an inset, but I want it to be negative 0.003. So I click return, and notice that made this little circle here get to the correct place. So I just have to let this process, and it's kind of a long process. When I was using this for the Straight Outta Ipsy, it took many, many minutes because I was doing the whole thing at one time. And so I just sat in front of the TV, I let it do its thing, and eventually it worked. Now this is a lot of circles for Cricut Design Space to process on my computer. Now I would assume that computer processing speed might make a difference. Sometimes when they're grouped or ungrouped or welded, that could make a difference. But it's worth a try if you have this issue. And my computer just now caught up with the positive outset or offset. Remember the default was over here to 0.25. It just now caught up with it. It's still working. That went away. And I can see that it's ready for me to click the apply button. Once the apply button turns green, go ahead and click that. Then the computer processes that. Once it's done, all of those negative offsets or insets will turn black. And there they are. So first thing I'm going to do is just drag them off. All right, let's make this a little smaller. So let's go ahead and click off this, and then I'll go back onto one of the circles. Notice it's 0.124. That's too small. Remember, I want my circles to be between 0.130 and 0.135. So you can only use this feature if you have a little bit of extra space on your shirt or your shoes or whatever you're putting your design on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and select the whole word Kansas. And then I'm going to drag this larger. I'll click off of it. Now let's check the circle again, 0.128. So I'm halfway to where I need to be. All right, click off, click one circle, 0.132. Now that is perfect. So what I want to do is go ahead. Now did it get all the way over there? Okay, select all my dots, go ahead and group those together. And I've fixed my design and I'm done. Okay, I want to show you one more thing that could happen and how you fix it. So let's say that my design came in and it was welded. Let me go ahead and group all those together and then hit weld. Okay, so now I can no longer ungroup this letter. I think I'll hide the bottom ones also. Okay, so now I can't check a single circle because it came in welded. We're going to pretend like this came in welded. Here's how you would have to deal with that. You would have to select whatever you want to see, click on contour, and again, because there's so many circles in this, it's going to take my computer quite a while before I can see the contour screen. Okay, so it's finally going to let me see the contour screen. All right, so to see one circle, I'm going to say hide all contours. You're always going to be left with one part of an image. So now I can hit this X, and there's my one circle. I see that I'm at 0.130, so I know I'm okay. So then I can just click on back, and then I want to unweld that. So I'll click back again, and I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I want to talk about one more thing. Well, I want to show you one more thing on this website. They have some free designs. Now there's not a lot of them, but what I recommend when you're first starting out, download a little free design. This one's only about 3 inches by a little over 2 inches. It only takes 78 rhinestones, SS10s, and everything that I've worked with so far is SS10s. So download a free design, use a few rhinestones, and just practice. If you start understanding how the templates work and the designs work, and you get pretty good at putting your rhinestones on, I think you're going to love doing this. Now, if you have any questions for me, please put them in the comment section below. I'm fairly new to rhinestones, so I may not know the answer, but if I do, I am more than happy to help you. Thanks so much for watching me and sticking it out till the end. Until my next video. Bye-bye.